I saw that Blue Blood TV or Sports TV, whatever, made a video talking about how there was rumors that Daniel Dubois knocked out Anthony Joshua in sparring, and the reason he even made that video was because uh, there was like an article that resurfaced talking about bringing up the fact that Daniel Dubois actually mentioned the fact that he knocked out Anthony Joshua in sparring several years ago, like when he was in the GB squad, I believe. But since then, a lot of my subscribers have told me that this was actually a fabrication. This was actually Daniel Dubois making not necessarily Daniel Dubois, but like his team told him to say these things to make him look good. And in this article, if you actually scroll down and read the article, a guy, one thing I found interesting in this article, because back in 2017, Daniel Dubois came out, right, and he said, I knocked down Anthony Joshua in sparring, and a lot of people were like, wow, that's a big deal. Anthony Joshua is a champion. You are a little prospect. You're knocking him down. And a lot of people believed it, including myself. But if you actually, I'll leave the link to the article in the description box. But if you actually scroll, look at the article and scroll down, you'll see that a Commonwealth champion by the name of Frazier Clark, he says that he is 99% sure that the claim was made up by Daniel Dubois' team. The claim where he claims that he knocked down Anthony Joshua, several times, or he actually claimed that his team actually claimed that he knocked out Anthony Joshua. Not even that he knocked him down. That he actually knocked out like cold. But Mr. Clark, he actually says, I am 99% sure his team made that up, because he says that he says I am at 99% of the spars, and he has hit him flush, and he has probably shook him up a bit. But the way they make it out that he put him down on his backside, it just never happened. I don't think it was Daniel. It's the people around him. Daniel is a nice kid, and he probably admitted he shook Joshua up a bit in sparring. Someone has made more of a story of it. So I can honestly say, if it was true, Joshua would turn around and say, yeah, it happened. It was true, but he hasn't. So basically what Mr. Clark has exposed is that he is in 99%, or he was at least in 99% of those spars. He was actually there, and he watched it. He watched Anthony Joshua spar with Daniel Dubois, and he says that at no point did Daniel Dubois actually drop Anthony Joshua. He says that he buzzed Anthony Joshua, but he also says that Anthony Joshua buzzed him. So it's actually, so my subscribers that told me that were actually correct, because I remember I made a video talking about that, the fact that Daniel Dubois came out and said, that he knocked down Anthony Joshua, and they told me no, that was just made up by his team. And after reading this information, they were actually, my subscribers were actually telling me the truth, because like I said, this Clark fella, who was a Commonwealth champion, he says that he witnessed the sparring between AJ and Dubois, and that he never saw Dubois drop AJ. And he basically just admitted that he saw him land clean punches on AJ, but at no point was he like on the canvas, on the ring floor, knocked out cold the way he claims. And the Clark fella, he basically claims that maybe Daniel Dubois' team decided just to make up this whole thing because he had a sparring session with AJ, and to make him, because remember, when it comes to Daniel Dubois, Frank Warren is trying to make him seem to be, the next Mike Tyson, the next heavyweight champion, the next British heavyweight champion. So that's what they're saying. Like, the reason they made up this story is just to, have people talking about him. Oh, wow, he knocked down AJ, a unified champion in the in sparring. Imagine that means he must be really, really good. Again, I'm not saying Daniel Dubois is not good. I think he's a good prospect. I think that he's very talented, and I think that as long as he stays focused and as long as he keeps improving as a fighter, he can become a champion one day, probably someday in the future. But I just think that this guy just exposed that he actually did not drop AJ. So yeah, let's just put those rumors to rest. Anthony Joshua did spar Daniel Dubois, but he never got dropped by him. Anyway, guys, so thanks for watching, and I'm out. Subscribe.